So a lot of people have been asking me what kind of building I'm using and like asking specifically if I could make kind of video about the build. So let's go through it. So the main thing I'm using is Blasphemous Blade. I leveled it to +10 obviously. And the things to keep in mind is it mainly scales with face, especially if you're talking about the abilities that you're going to be using most of the time. And it's really important to keep in mind that it kind of goes through your FP really fast. Like every hit consumes 30 FP, so you should have enough FP to defeat a boss essentially. And yeah, like for me it's a good idea to get a Flask of Virulent Tears. Obviously I have everything to +12. It's NG +3, so and in terms of talismans, the main things that you should be using is Talisman of the Dread and Shard of Alexander. The third one is something that you can play around with. For instance, I'm using Faithful Canvas Talisman just to get more potency from blessings, incantations to be precise, and Force is just to balance everything with a little bit protection. It's Great Shield Talisman, and it does 20% decrease on per hit as far as I remember. And with this talisman third place, you can kind of change it around. Like a lot of people are recommending Fire Scorpion Charm, but it does decrease your like it actually increases physical damage taken by 10%, and it increases fire damage dealt by 10%. So it kind of makes you less tankier, so it's not something I would prefer. It's good to have it as a more protective slot on some fights. Like for instance, of Concentrate Down, you can use Golden Braid in here, and on other bosses you can use something for protection against magic or against fire or even against lightning. You can kind of play around with it and use something that's useful for a specific fight. And a part of that, its best choice for the seal is Earthly Seal. It scales all the way to 80 face, so you get a lot of incantations increase. And for armor, like I'm using the highest poise armor. My personal favorite is Bull Goat, and you can replace it with Banished Knight Helm. If you're just well, Banished Knight set overall, if you're just starting the game, it's quite easy to get, and it should get you some good poise to begin. And you can get it quite early in the game from the Rampart Tower. Let's show you. It's good for most kinds of builds, and it's fairly easy to farm as long as you remember to get Silver Scarab. And with Silver Scarab, and even if you don't get a Silver Scarab like early on, you can get the Silver Pickled Fall Food, which is pretty good, and you get a considerable buff for your drop rate. You just have to go and farm this guy repeatedly. This is like the best spot to farm him. And yeah, early game, as long as you deal some good damage, he should be easy to kill. The main problem would be the drop rate, but again, with the talisman of Silver Scarab and Silver Scarab Fall Food, it should be pretty fast. Otherwise, there's an important thing I need to mention. It's Wondrous Physic, and it kind of is important, and it's kind of a good buff, but it's not mandatory if you don't get it right and you don't use everything correctly. So for the main thing is Flame Shrouding Cracked Tear, boosts your fire damage without any negative effects. I personally use Opaline Heart Tear which is a good option for protection. But you can, if you really want to, you can replace it with blood-sucking Cracktear, but keep in mind that it's gonna slowly deteriorate your health, so you don't have anything to counter it. It's gonna be a bit tricky. So yeah, for spells, the main spell is, well, two of the main ones are Blessing of the Earth Tree and Golden Ball. Like, they stack with each other, and first one restores your health over time, the second one increases your defenses and defensive abilities. For the third spell, you can have a certain variety you can play around. It's either Flame Grant Me Strength, which increases your damage considerably, or Black Flame's Protection, which increases your physical resistance by a considerable margin. Depending on what you want to do, like if you want to be more tanky or if you want to deal more damage, it's up to you. You can also replace Black Flame's Protection with Flame Protect Me, for example, to get more fire resistance, or Lord's Divine Fortification, which increases your holy damage negation. It's pretty useful for Concert Radahn, and I'd say it's somewhat useful for Lantern Beast, but the fight is a bit longer. So yeah, that's the main thing you can use, and the important thing to keep in mind is obviously the range of the weapon. And some enemies, some bosses specifically, like Millennia, will be able to dodge the ability of Blasphemous Blade, and you don't want that to happen, so you'd like to use it as a mid-range weapon, and you need to make sure that you can pull off the hit every time without getting hit, or if you're gonna get hit, it's a minor hit that won't take a lot of your damage. But again, if you're using everything correctly and you have high poise armor, which is pretty heavy armor, and you should be able to withstand a lot of attacks, like minor attacks, and get your health back instantaneously. It works pretty well like that. Another option that is good for if you're playing like the base game without going to NG+, is Veteran's Helm, and you can get it Veteran set overall, and you can get it from Castle Soul, and you have to kind of defeat Commander Nyal, who's not that difficult, but you have to do a huge chunk of the game before you get there. And of course, the main kind of stumbling stone, the main things that are gonna stop you is your load. And if you have heavy load, obviously you're gonna do some fat trolling, which is not good, and you'd rather avoid that as much as you can. And the only way to go around it is either max out your endurance, or as I mentioned the previous slot that can be replaced, you can get Great Jar's Arsenal, which is pretty good because it gives you a lot of load and gives you a lot of room to use heavier armor, and it's one of the good options to work. And for the rune, I'm using I'm never really bothered with getting a lot of different runes. I'm using Godric's Great Rune, and it just does a lot of increase for your stats. It's the reason why I just get it, because I've been doing a lot of New Game Plus, and every time you start a New Game Plus, kind of everything resets, and you have to get all the runes again. So I never really bothered playing around with runes, but if you want to, you can always do it. You can use Millennia's Great Rune, which is a good option for steady increase on your health. And yeah, a part of that important thing to mention is that kind of, if you get to the boss that has a lot of, for example, fire resistance, what you do, like Fire Giant or Midra, or a lot of dragons seem to have a lot of fire resistance. Like for me personally, I just go for Euporia. It's not my main build, but it kind of does good damage and it has a lot of potential. And again, as same with Blasphemous Blade, it's all about timing that ability of your weapon properly. Like everything will boil down to it. With Blasphemous Blade, it's much shorter, so it's easier to pull off. With Euporia, it's slightly more difficult, and it's a more channeled ability, but you can move sideways while you're using it. So it's probably the hardest thing to use so far, and it's rewarding in specific fights, but sometimes it's a good idea to just chop everything down. And for that thing, I'm not going to change a lot, and mainly I'm going to get two-handed sword talisman instead of it, and I'll get Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which is a good quest you can do. And for the last thing, I'm using two-handed turtle talisman just to get that extra stamina, because it kind of consumes your stamina really fast, and a lot of it boils down to efficient stamina use, I'd say. And you can have another great option is Millicent's prosthesis, and it will go stack pretty well, but I don't think you can have too much stamina, honestly, so I really enjoy two-headed turtle talisman. And in terms of mana consumption, you can completely forget about it in terms of P consumption, so you can switch to full healing flask instead. And for Wondrous Physic, you can use Tourniquet here. It's a really great option. And I think some people were recommending Holy Shrouding Cracked here, but that attack is it's not gonna do all of your damage. I would say my personal advice is don't try to make a build for Euporia that boils around its ability. Make a build for Euporia that works with a lot of consecutive attacks, because a huge chunk of your damage will be just hitting enemies with Euporia. It's not gonna be just using this ability. You can use it several times per fight, and it's gonna take a considerable chunk of, like, let's say 20 or 30% of boss's health, but you'll be much faster just by hitting things with Euporia. And of course you can actually have both, but again, I'm kind of using a more protective option. And yeah, you can use a more offensive kind of combination for those to play around, or you can just go for Blood-Sucking Cracked Tear, of course, obviously. And Blood-Sucking Cracked Tear, it kind of lasts longer, and the important thing to mention about it works well with Blessing of the Erdtree, because Blessing of the Erdtree kind of heals you, and Blood-Sucking Cracked Tear is kind of a dot that takes a lot of your health gradually, so it kind of works out fine on some occasions. But if you're getting like a really long fight like Concentradan or Millennia or Elden Beast or anything of Shadow Erdtree, is like it's gonna take a while. You're gonna feel it draining your health, so it's not my personal favorite, I'd say. And it's good to have, like, my personal approach is to have something more tanky-ish and have to worry less about my health and taking too much damage, and yeah, have a good damage on top of it, so it kind of works in a really balanced way. And for stats, it's important to mention the stats in the end. Obviously it's a good idea to have a lot of vigor, but it's the main stat would be face, and you can go all the way to 80, and it's both for Blasphemous Blade and Euporia. And Euporia scales mainly with face, so you're gonna have a huge damage increase with it as well. As for other things, endurance is good for stamina, because you get more stamina, you land more hits, especially for Euporia, and you can use heavier armor, so you have more poise, and you get less interruptions if something attacks you. And specifically for like light attacks, if something hits you with a heavy attack, you're probably gonna get interrupted. And it's always important to keep in mind that it takes time to use the ability. It's not instantaneous, so you should have enough room to use Blasphemous Blade's ability or Euphoria's ability, especially Euphoria's ability. And on top of it, strength and dexterity is pretty good. I mean, my personal favorite is strength because I'm using interchangeably some weapons that require strength sometimes, and strength dexterity overall adds more damage for basic attacks for both Euphoria and for Blasphemous Blade, so it's pretty good. And mind, obviously mind is pretty good for Blasphemous Blade because you have more FP, and the more FP you have, the easier it will be on some tight fights like Concentradon, where you don't have a lot of room even to drink flasks. The thing I wanted to show you, like the final kind of option of Blasphemous Blade builds that you can use, is more the super tanky version. Let's go with this, and for instance, you wanna tank Constradon or something like that. I'll just change talismans for completeness sake. Could probably go even more tankier with it, but it's fine. It's not gonna work for a long time, but for a moment, it's gonna increase your damage resistance to all things. So we have 50 physical resistance, 41 holy resistance, and it's even gonna scale more with scattered fragments. So, and here, let's use it correctly. You get everything to 95 when you use a physic, but it's not gonna last long. It's kind of interesting. And you see it deteriorating really. You'll see it deteriorating really fast. So you have this near complete invulnerability to all kinds of damage for a short amount of time, and it's good if you wanna go really offensive. So the idea for that would be you have all the buffs, you can do a lot of damage, and you have this window of opportunity where you can ignore most of the boss attacks and do humongous amounts of damage to the boss, because you're like almost completely immune to all the boss damage. And it's actually slightly higher in Shadow Earthtree because you have Scattered Tree Fragments. So yeah, that's a nice trick you can use as well if you feel like being super tanky, but it's important to get Wondrous Physic working correctly. So yeah, that's everything so far. I think I'm gonna release another video on when I get to NG+7. I might adjust and tweak the build a bit. So it worked pretty well all the way to Millennia and NG+3, and I'll do fine on Shadow Earthtree. And yeah, if I'm gonna make any significant changes to the build, I'll make another video. So I hope you find it useful, and thanks for watching. Subscribe and follow my channel for more Elden Ring videos if you enjoyed this one. Thank you, bye.